stroll by and enjoy the feeling of summer days. Known for our lively dining experience featuring exceptional coastal-inspired food in a beautifully designed atmosphere.
एक्वास्टार नहीं है क्या? घर लिया ये एक्वास्टार यूपीवीसी रेन हार्वेस्टिंग सिस्टम। ये लीक प्रूफ है और साथ ही बेहद मजबूत भी। फिक्स इट एंड फॉरगेट इट। एक्वास्टार।
नमस्कार निशापुर में आप सभी का स्वागत है। मैं हूं रोहित। इस वक्त मैं डी ब्रेड के ऑडिटोरियम के यहाँ पर, और हम आपको ये बता दें कि अंडमान निकोबार एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन पब्लिक वर्क डिपार्टमेंट वेबिनार और अप्रोचेस टू अर्बन आर्किटेक्चर एंड इंजीनियरिंग एंड विजुअलाइजिंग डेवलपमेंट फ्रॉम 6 to 8 May, inaugurated by ऑनरेबल चीफ सेक्रेटरी केशव चंद्र जी। तो यहाँ पर जो है वर्कशॉप चल रहा है। तो जैसा हमने दिखाया, आज पहला दिन है, तो हम आपको दिखाएंगे भी, और हमारे जो हम केशव चंद्र जी हैं, जो हमारे सेक्रेटरी है अंडमान निकोबार आइलैंड, उनकी भी बात हम आपको सुनाएंगे, और मुख्य भूमि से कुछ लोग भी आए हैं, उनकी भी बात हम आपको सुनाएंगे।
Welcome the Chief Guest, Shri Keshav Chandra, Chief Secretary, Andaman and Nicobar Administration. Our Secretary PWD, Shri Arjun Sharma. We have with us esteemed resource persons, Mrs. Pramita Roy. I would request Shri Ramesh Kumar to welcome. Please give a big hand. We have Mrs. Mrigrana Saxena, and I would like Shailata to kindly welcome her. We have Mrs. Sujata Hignari. Nisha, please welcome. Now, may I request our Chief Secretary, sir, to kindly light the lamp and inaugurate this workshop. Please take a nice snap and share with me. I forgot.
Respected Chief Secretary Sir, Secretary Education Yash, Senior Engineers, Architects, Town Planners, our three very esteemed guests who have consented to be part of this workshop, 3-day workshop in Port Blair. A very warm good afternoon to all of you. As you are all aware that in the post-tsunami era, these islands have been experiencing a very good growth in tourism and in other sectors of the economy. We have a very limited amount of land which is available to us. Around 90% of the land is forest land, and at the same time there are various restrictions also on the usage of the land which are imposed by various regulations like CRZ norms, tribal habitats, coastal erosion. So, as against all these restrictions, there are the pressures of development also, because these islands have to develop in a sustained manner over the course of next 20 to 25 years. So, how to balance both these aspirations? So, this I feel would be the crux of the workshop. There are 3-4 major points which I feel, and our respected Chief Secretary Sir has also been stressing on these 4 points. That first is that how we can reduce the usage of conventional construction materials in our buildings, in our design, in our thinking, and how to bring more ecological materials, locally available materials in our architecture, in our design typologies. So that has been the focus of our Chief Secretary Sir, and I would request the resource persons also that if they could focus on this aspect in their presentations. So that is one very important aspect.
Now I request our Chief Secretary Sir, Shri Keshav Chandra, to kindly address the gathering.
My dear colleague Arjun and Yash, who's sitting here, Chief Engineer, and all 3 resource persons who have joined us today, and my fellow colleagues who are sitting here. First of all, on behalf of everybody present here, I extend a very warm welcome to all these 3 phenomena. This is the word, and I must dwell upon this slightly to put you in the context that why I insisted all 3 to come here and to make a presentation. Actually, my association with all 3 of them goes almost 15 years back. And I don't know about Sujata, but 2 of them had actually quit the job in US and UK and come to India to do something for the country. And they endeavored hard, and you know our systems in India. And they were trying to introduce a new concept in the entire country. It's called TOD, Transit Oriented Development. And I had no clue at all that what is it. But I used to listen to them because the new concept, and they were struggling hard against the systems that India had. And it was almost a 5-6 years of struggle. So 5-6 years, after 5-6 years, they were able to introduce TOD in the country for the first time. So the credit goes to 3 of them that the India today has TOD system. And all the major cities in India are now adopting TOD in their master planning and all these things. So that's why I insisted that these 3 original thinkers, and not only planners but great enthusiasts for doing something for the country, to come here and present before us. Well, after hearing Arjun's list, I could see that there is some flutter, and because though they are architects, but they are more towards the town planning side, and so the building typology would be slightly, and the conventional architectural thing would be slightly off their list. Yeah, so I could see that, but I would add something which probably I know that you all have already worked on those issues. They have also spent some time in UTPEC, if I remember very correctly. And for the first time in the country, they also devised a detailed street design guideline, and which is extremely important, because this is one engineering structure that we construct in almost every city. The roads are built almost in every city, but the ancillary services which are to be built as per the plan is invariably missing, because we never bother about all these services, that how these are to be placed, and what should be the right method of placing it, and what should be the norm. according to the population and according to all other parameters of the city. And that's why we have a structure which is functionally correct probably for one mode of transport, but the entire society is not able to derive the actual benefit out of it. And so that street design guideline becomes extremely important for us, because there are other modes of transport like pedestrians and like cyclists and others, this slow mode of transport. So how to somehow incorporate all these factors together while building that roads becomes very, very important. Well, Sujata is an expert in street designing, and again my interaction with, not exactly, but 15 years back you were doing some streetscaping in NDMC, yeah, and that time I was posted in NDMC, but we did not interact much that time. But later she emerged as the major streetscape designer in the country, and so it's a great privilege for us that all three are here. Well, I had a tough time getting all three together and somehow convince them to come here and make a presentation, but finally they have agreed, and so we are slightly fortunate. I would also like to harp upon what Arjun said, is that here Port Blair, Andaman, especially, it's very uniquely placed that we have a potential to emerge as the major tourist destination. It has been endowed with all kinds of natural bounty that one can think of, but somehow we could not propel ourselves in terms of, and not only the building planning or is one factor, there could be other factors also, but what can we do in that respect to probably pull this and probably give this place the right position that it deserves. So that is the whole idea, and that's why I wanted you to go and see our flagship island, Havelock. Now it is called Swaraj Dweep. To plan, just have a cursory look and then see that how the master plan, what all it is lacking, and how we can do course correction, because it's been almost 150 years since we are building this island, and but this is high time that we must do a course correction and align it, as Arjun said, as per the ecological needs of this city and ecological needs of the place. And in that context, it becomes very, very important that we keep on interacting with the professionals who have done tremendous work in that field. We make ourselves acquainted with the latest what is going on in the world, and also do some introspection in the light of their findings, their suggestions, that where we are committing mistakes and how to do course correction. So that becomes very, very important. I also chose this time because very soon you have monsoons, and after monsoon is on, then hardly any construction goes on. And so this is the right moment that we do all our training, our basic capacity building, all kinds of program in that duration in the monsoon season, and so that we know new learnings, we equip ourselves with the latest what is going on, and then we try and implement and do something good for the society and for the place as such. Well, this is anybody's dream that the building typology undergoes a change, because if you see the buildings, you must have seen it also, that probably it requires a major overhaul and major change. But it will take time, because if people are used to that kind of freedom that everybody wants to construct the way he wants to, and the person is not exposed to what is right and what is probably ecologically more correct structure. But then with the persistence it will happen. And so I could not think of better resource person than these three, and so let's hear them and let's benefit, and I leave it to them that you can always interject and you can ask questions, whether during their discourse or in the end. So let's hear them, and again in the end I welcome all three of them very warmly to this island. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Having heard from our top bosses so much about the esteemed experts.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for the opportunity and to present and to participate today. As the context was set by Mr. Chandra and Mr. Arjun, I'm trying to address that, talking about how do you create sustainable development frameworks and strategies for the islands, for the island region actually. If you could move to the next. Before we get into that, all the format has gone haywire, but that's okay. Before we go further, there are two terms that I would want to discuss. These are terms that you would come across increasingly every day because you're dealing with this whole idea of how do you manage sustainability with competing demands of socio-economic needs and environmental sustainability. So what is sustainability? Today this term is used loosely across different scales. It means different things to different people. What is important to know, in my mind, there are two things that simply define sustainability in terms of a sustainable place, is that does the place offer choice? Does a place offer people like you and me and those who are not here outside, the common man, the choice of how he wants to live, the kind of jobs he wants to take, how he moves around in a city? Does everyone in Andaman have a choice for where his kids go to school, for example? If a place can offer that kind of choice to everyone, that place is intrinsically sustainable. The second key and sort of more directly linked to the idea of sustainability is whether a place can, whether we can enhance our well-being in a particular place without disturbing or jeopardizing the interests of others. So while I prosper, I make sure nobody else loses out, and also without negatively impacting the environment. Next, please. The other big word that you'll hear now is resilience. It's again used extensively and it will keep coming back, especially in the context of new greenfield developments, the greater Nicobar Island development, etc. What is resilience? It has different definitions based on whether you're looking at socio-economic resilience or environmental. If I strip all of it down, the basic essence is the capacity of any system to restore its fundamental structure and processes so that it survives, it thrives in spite of all the disturbances and stress that development activity may create. So in this context, what can we as planners, architects, urban designers, engineers in this room actually do to ensure that the islands are planned, designed, built and managed? I think all four components are equally important. As a sustainable region, I think there are three priorities, and it's not rocket science, we all know this, but it's important to reinforce these three priorities. The first is we actively use planning approaches to reduce developmental impact. The starting point has to be that our planning approaches intrinsically have to be more sustainable, have to work with the landscape, have to work with the terrain, etc. We look at what that means. The second most important aspect is that we must work with and integrate natural systems, be it water, be it the climate, be it the landscape and ecology. We cannot go ahead by controlling it. The more we control, the more chances of us facing the peril for it. We just need to integrate and work in tandem comprehensively with the natural system, especially in an ecological sort of environment where the islands are extremely sensitive and exposed to the forces and to the elements. Third is also that we need to build robustly. There are reasons why we need to use certain materials, robust technologies, but in ways that is specific to the needs and context of the region. And I think that's where we'll attempt to start setting the context for what that ought to be. We may not have actual approaches to the construction technologies, but how we go about doing that. If we could move to the next. To be able to build resilience and sustainability across these three priorities, we need to work across scales. We cannot choose any one scale and ensure that the region actually becomes sustainable. So we need to start at the regional level, which is the Andaman and Nicobar Islands.
बने हमारे साथ ब्रेकिंग न्यूज़ अब तक इसी के साथ ही मेरे कैमरा के साथ धन्यवाद.
अंडमान से जुड़ी सभी छोटी बड़ी खबरें देखने के लिए हमारे अपने न्यूज आज तक यूट्यूब चैनल को सब्सक्राइब करें और बेल आइकॉन प्रेस करना ना भूलें। हमारा अपना न्यूज आज तक, अब सच देखेगा अंडमान।